Hey guys, this is Lindell and Chris, and we're going to talk about COVID. Favorite topic, of course.
Hooray.
How we're dealing with it, or not dealing with it.
Full disclosure, we were planning this and I was thinking, okay, we're going to give people tools and tips and tricks, and like halfway through our discussion, I just went, I actually don't think I'm dealing with this very well. Actually, it would probably be really refreshing to hear somebody talk about it like that, because I keep seeing people on Instagram and stuff and they're like, this is what I'm doing to thrive. And sometimes I don't feel like I'm thriving. We do think that we came up with a few things that have been really helpful, so we thought we would chat through
Put
that
those out
process.
there, share them,
Yes.
link some lists down below. I have a precondition, so I'm immunocompromised, and that actually is kind of a big issue for us during COVID, obviously.
Huge. He had 3 lung collapses in 2018 through 2019.
I'm fine, and everything's good, but obviously at the beginning of this illness, everyone thought it was a respiratory disease because that's who it was hitting most. I actually had stayed home the week before everything was locked down because I had a cold or something. Just didn't want to go in the office and get people sick. And then this hit. And so we definitely stayed home. Lindell became, the go-to person getting groceries and going outside and interacting with other people. And I had to kind of be in the background. I couldn't play protector anymore. Lindell took that role.
That was probably the weirdest transition for me personally, and I didn't actually realize I did it. I actually do think we have a very equal relationship. I do not think that you've ever been like, I'm the man of the house and all that stuff, but I do think that you are the protector of us. And so what ended up happening, because you have these lung issues, I ended up being the protector. And I noticed that when we would just kind of go on our daily walks or whatever, I would kind of walk a little in front of him, and I was just kind of doing it innately or instinctually, and I wasn't like holding his hand. I'm a very physically affectionate person. None of that was happening. I was really kind of stuffing down any sort of emotion, any sort of negativity I was feeling, and I was like survival mode, just kind of.
That actually caused issues because we weren't really communicate. Our roles had kind of switched in a way.
It actually kind of made me really understand why I think a stereotypical relationship, if you will, the person that goes out and maybe is the breadwinner or the protector of the house or whatever, seems to be emotionally unavailable. And I started realizing that I was putting myself in that headspace because I literally had no room for emotions and to think about, oh, I'm stressed, let's discuss why I'm stressed. None of that was happening. And so I actually valued that role a lot more. You did not see that as emasculating. You were just, no, this is how it has to be and it's fine. And so I actually really appreciate it. So any weirdness or negativity or stress was all just kind of circulating over my own head.
Right. It was not only like a change in mentality, we couldn't go outside, but it was, we're even doing things differently within a relationship. Eventually, we started addressing it and understanding what was happening. So eventually, we realized that we needed to accept it. And I think one of the reasons or triggers for realizing we needed to just accept what was happening, Lindell was in charge of getting packages, because packages come from the outside. They're dirty, right? So she would clean the packages and open them and get them ready and disinfect it and stuff. And when we accepted it, we said, okay, look, this is going to be life moving forward, really. If you think about the time frame of this disease, even right now in mid-August, it's going to be into next year. So you kind of have to say, this is life. What are we doing differently? And one of the things was just we hung scissors by the front door.
It's so lame that really lifted so much off of my shoulders. But I was just in this really negative headspace, and you just kind of stopped and said, okay, we are dealing with this as if it is temporary. And then you said, let's just assume that it's forever. Not that we're thinking it will be forever, but let's just assume. So what do we need to do to make ourselves comfortable? And also, I'm the type of person that I like to go to the grocery store kind of like every other day or whatever. What do I feel like cooking and blah, blah, blah. And you just don't do that right now. Absolutely not. So, having to plan ahead and having to store more food and just all of that, just accepting it and then making it work.
We kind of have a
was so good.
standard, I don't know, lifestyle right now, which is a little weird because I think we were a little more ad-libby before.
Yes.
But
Yes. Very creative.
we do once a week curbside grocery store pickup, and we'll do Sunday drives to get out of the house, and we do get food delivery. It's curbside, but occasionally we don't feel like cooking, and that's it. And we're trying to figure out other fun things. We've started streaming a lot. We do want to share this other cool thing that we put together, and we'll list all the links for all this stuff. One of the things that I think took a lot of fear out of the situation for us is, especially with my preconditions, is what happens if you do go to the hospital. We really didn't have a plan. We said, well, look, we have to do as much as we can to not go to the hospital, which is why we self-isolated. But the next big thing was, well, what happens if you do go? We game plan everything, every opportunity, every kind of permutation that can happen so that we're comfortable. So we plan ahead and do those things. And what we did was make a go bag.
One thing that I always say about hospitals is the number one thing that you need when you go to a hospital is an advocate, meaning somebody that can sit there and knows what your medications are, knows what your allergies are, knows what you need, and knows your doctors, and can be this communication person. And the way that they're handling COVID right now, you cannot have an advocate, obviously, because they don't want to keep spreading the disease. And so that was really making me panic, because that's my A game. And so essentially, this is kind of an advocate pack.
Yeah.
Almost.
Well, you have to be comfortable. I mean, when I was in the hospital for the lung collapses, I didn't have a terrible time. I know that it wasn't that bad because right, because Lindell was there being my advocate, and she would bring me clean clothes and the niceties, toothbrushes and deodorant.
And it's really helpful for your body to feel normal, to feel like you have things to do, things to make you comfortable, because the more you move and the happier you are, the more endorphins that you have. So I must say, if for some reason one of us were to go to the hospital and we couldn't use this go bag for one reason or another, that's fine. We're not going to fight anybody, but we decided, just based on our experience with hospital stays, because I had a pretty intense hospital stay before, and you have as well. So what we did was we actually put together this go bag, and this list is actually in the top of the go bag in a plastic baggie, just in case it gets wet. People are getting to know me a little bit more, and as I always say, I am not fun, I am useful. It starts with a section of to grab separately. These are things that we're not going to put in the go bag, our phones and things like that, because if you're super stressed, you don't want to have to think about these things. Here's the categories of the things that are in the bag itself. We have hygiene, food, operations, and separate clothes. So hygiene, obviously you have like shower wipes, toothpaste, toothbrush. I have a water purifier, fun snacks are in there too. And then the operations is things like extension cords, masks, alcohol wipes, gloves, scissors, earplugs. Oh, yes.
Yeah, for hospital stay, those machines.
Travel blankets,
terrible.
Batteries. So we have different battery packs and things like that.
I like a power pack to recharge your phone for a week or so.
Yeah, and then the separate clothes are like socks, underwear, deodorant. Just because like the grosser you feel, the sicker you feel.
Yeah, we picked out a hospital that we would go to if anything did happen, and so yeah, do some research.
So we will actually put a copy of this list in the description, and then if there's anything kind of fancy schmancy, I'll put a link to it. Like the water purifier we found was really cool.
The battery pack we picked.
And none of this is sponsored or anything like that. It's literally just after research, this is what we found and this is what we wanted to use. And so putting this plan together, having this go bag, and having these plans in place helped to calm me down a little bit and make me feel like I had a plan.
And from then on, I think we were able to calm down a little bit, de-stress, and try to live more in the situation. Yeah, so that's the life stuff. So from the entrepreneurship side of things, Lindell and I are very creative in that way. A couple times there's been some big issues in the world that we've tried to participate in and help to positively affect. And unfortunately, COVID's one of them. So at the beginning, when there was a shortage of ventilators, We didn't have any manufacturing resources to help create or offset the ventilator shortage. This was right when New York was spiking right at the beginning. We decided to look at the backup ventilator idea, that if this got bad enough where there was going to be a huge shortage, we designed, built, and worked with a couple agencies in order to kind of distribute that out, that knowledge. It's documented on giveoxygen.com, and we tried to put it out there for people to use. Luckily, it never came to that point.
Yeah, it's very strange to actually make a product you hope nobody uses.
Yeah.
Which is such a weird thing to say, but I think part of my discomfort too was, what can I do right now? And how can I give back? Because I can't go outside because you are, immunocompromised. That was just really hard. And I think that also came into play too with all the protests that I'm in support of, that I felt like I couldn't go out either. So going with your pattern, I accepted it. Mm-hmm. And then found other ways to support different things. Like you were saying, we created that backup ventilator, and it made me feel like, okay, I am doing something. I am contributing. Anyway, so I think that acceptance piece was really helpful to us. We have been making a lot of entrepreneurial progress, which is great. And we're still renovating our house, which is really... That's actually been progressing as well, but I still feel like I have really dark moments and days.
We're the type of people that if we have time or space, we will fill it.
That is true.
So we're working on remodeling our place. We are starting different entrepreneurial activities. I was able to exit one of my companies during this time frame, and we started a new one. Lindell and I are working on it together, in addition to this channel, actually. So I think that acceptance, that idea of we've accepted that this is what it is. Yeah, it's not ideal. Nobody thinks it's ideal. Nobody wants to be here. Nobody wants to do it. But it's kind of having that entrepreneurial spirit of, what's the situation as it is? What can we do with it? What can we, positively affect? How can we go about it? And kind of that game planning methodology, and continually just refocusing ourselves and pivoting based on the opportunity, based on the situation at hand. And I think that's been a struggle, a difficulty, a hardship, but I think we're doing decently, even though we feel overwhelmed and frustrated.
And I think I started doing this thing where I decided to talk to myself like I talk to my friends. That was really helpful to me right now. And so instead of being like, oh, you stayed up too late, or you didn't get this done, or whatever negative thing I want to say to myself in this moment, I do not talk to my friends that way at all. And so when I started to kind of shift my brain and just accept it, it's like, oh, I'm having a lot of anxiety today. I guess I'm not going to be sleeping today. But then, maybe I might get an art project done or whatever. So kind of just spinning it in a positive way and just kind of meeting myself where I'm at. Do I really need a nap? Yes, I really need a nap. And that's okay. And I think that every once in a while I do get a little tired of talking about this, even though we've literally just spent like an entire video talking about this. And luckily I feel like I have a few people that I can just be like, can we talk about something else?
Really the acceptance part of it.
Yes.
We wanted to get out there, and then we might talk about statistics and some solutions in the future. But,
yeah. I think that having an entrepreneurial mindset really makes you look at different scenarios in almost like a bipartisan, logical, mechanical way, if you will. And so I think that
removing the politics from the situation.
Yeah. I think we'd really like to dive into a couple of these things. You know what? I feel like when I talk about something and it has an action to it, or it has a solution or something like that, it has some forward momentum, it doesn't exhaust me to talk about it. It exhausts me to talk about just the same conversations that everybody's having about things being closed or people not wearing masks or whatever, but there's no like solution to it. That's what I have no word. It just deflates me.
Those are really interesting. I mean, yes, the standard ways of talking about it, but I think from an entrepreneurial or an engineering standpoint or a scientific standpoint, there's a couple angles that are really interesting, and we'll probably talk through those a little bit just to figure out some things, or
Yeah, I think so. And I think just in conclusion, if you're feeling super stressed and like you have no idea what day it is and you don't know what you did at all yesterday or 5 minutes ago or anything like that, you're not alone.
Yeah. We hardly know what day it is.
Nope.
That's
not in the slightest.
We just ask Google.
We really do.
That's true.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah. See you next time.